I'm excited for you though.
I know.
Yay!
I feel bad because I mean, I've been through so much of that crap,
Oh my gosh, don't feel
but,
bad.
but
It's
right now I'm in
inspiring.
a good place.
Yes, it gives everybody hope. It really does.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh my gosh, there's going to be some guys out there. That's exciting.
You know April Meservy? She's
Yes,
going to be there too.
yes,
Do you know
yes,
her?
yes. I love her. She's
She's
just
one of my
amazing.
favorite people. And
Mhm.
I mean, she's just like, yeah, she's just got so much love to give.
Yes.
And you feel so good around her. But I met her through a mutual friend. He's like, you
Hmm.
have to meet this girl. I think you guys would be really hit it off. Like, you need her. Kind of. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So met her for lunch. And we both just like, it's not like we talk all the time, but we only probably met in person twice and would
Hmm.
like, but I was like, I think I was like the first or second person she called when she found her guy. She's like, this, like, I know it's Dave. Like, I found him and I'm so excited. I wanted to tell you. And she made me her maid of honor at her
Oh
wedding.
my gosh, that's so sweet.
And she was, and I'm like, I don't even know her that well, but we
Hmm.
just had this connection and kind of a lot of the similar just struggles and, with guys and things like that. And my husband had left me and I was her maid of honor. And she's like, I just really appreciate you being here. I know this is probably hard for you. Like,
Yeah.
since I know I found mine and I'm really happy right now. And I don't know, that where you're at exactly, but just know that I love you. And like, I know
Oh,
you're going to find someone kind of a
that's
thing.
so sweet. I know her story and the whole recording of With or Without You when she was going through that hard time.
Yeah.
That's so inspiring. And
Yeah.
just hearing that song, that cover, you can feel the
Oh,
emotion.
yes, you
Oh,
can.
I know.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
And
Mm.
there was one song that she sang from her album. There was a couple actually, but one in particular. I think it's All That I Am, but it just gave me chills, and it
Oh,
really helped me to heal.
oh, I need to listen to that.
It's so good.
You know who I've been
Trying to
listening
find
to
it.
lately is Lauren Daigle. I love her. Have you heard of her?
I
Oh,
haven't.
oh, I got to send you. Oh my gosh, she's phenomenal. In fact, April posted some of her stuff lately. My daughter sent me her song, and that's how I was introduced to her. And oh gosh, it's beautiful. Her stuff is just gorgeous. So
There
yeah.
it is.
Oh, awesome.
But it's about feeling stuck and like turning yourself over to the Lord and just
Yep.
stepping forward. And
That is where I'm at right now.
yeah.
That is so where I'm at right
But
now.
if you have like headphones or good sound system, it's just warm, and
Uh,
and when I played it for my mom, like she knew what I was going through and she was crying.
I'm telling you, it's going to be a miracle if I get through this interview because I'm feeling so raw today. So,
Yeah. Well, we
whew.
don't. If it's too hard today, if we can do it another time.
No, that's okay. I want to hear from you, and I think this is important. So,
Okay.
yeah, let's just do it.
Right.
And I think and I think some of these times I think are important also because you never know what other people are going through, and it just might help.
Yeah. Well, I hope I can be as on as I was last time, but I think
Oh
I
my
look.
gosh, you're always on.
No, I think I look better today. My hair's not quite as frumpy, so that's good.
You look good. You looked good last time. You look good now too. So
Well, thank you.
okay, let me just make sure okay. I have this laptop on a windowsill because I'm
Yeah,
hoping like the
mine's on a
light
bed.
I'm
I
hoping the
was
light.
like turning it around, like where's the best place?
I know. I'm hoping the lighting's okay. Okay, this time I see that record. Do you see the record light on for you?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So I'll edit our first part and then
Okay, no
um
problem.
and then I'll just start. So, okay,
Yeah.
let's see.
But I had kind of a low day on like Tuesday, Wednesday, because um, just like my faith in the Lord giving me what I want, and no, just there's so many times when like I want this, and He's like, no, and so I was really hoping that this was the right thing, And just because he lives here, and both of our kids live in different cities, they're 2 hours away. So just like, should we even move forward with this, knowing that this could be a huge challenge? And so he wanted to fast, which I loved that he even suggested it.
Yes.
But inside I was like, oh, what if he says no? What if the Lord says no, and he's like, I don't feel good about it anymore, or it's just not going to work. And so I was kind of a little low, but I spent Wednesday. We both fast on Wednesday, and the first thing like that came to me at the beginning of the day was, be still and know that I am God. Like,
I love that.
Like I gotcha.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I was like, because when I'm fasting for a purpose, it's not hard for me. When I'm fasting just like for something that's not that important to me, I get really hungry and grouchy. But like, I went all day, I was fine. Like, as far as I'm like, yeah, I'm hungry, but like, I'm good. Like, I really want to get a solid answer or just some peace or something. And like around 8 o'clock that night, I'm talking to my sister Marina, and she's asking about Ryan and everything. And I started telling her that, I'm kind of feeling like I just need to trust Ryan. Like, he's the kind of man that I can trust, the kind of man I can follow, the kind of man who listens to God. And I need to, just follow him, even if it means he decides it's not going to work, and just trust his intuition and like, I'll follow you. And as I'm talking to Marina, I'm like, I think that's the answer to my prayer. I didn't realize it before I was talking to you, but I think I just need to trust this man. Like, if this is the man I'm supposed to be with, he will follow the Lord, and therefore I can follow him.
That's so beautiful. I think the fact that he even brought up the point of fasting and fast, that's so beautiful.
I know.
I'm sorry, but I don't know too many men in my life that even bring that up. I mean,
no, that's why when he brought it up, I was like, oh, like I was almost like let down, like, you're going to fast and get an answer like right now. Okay. Like, I'm scared.
Oh, I mean, I haven't heard that brought up since my mission.
Yeah. But I was like, this is a good guy. And he wants to pray twice a day. Like, we'll call each other at 6 and at 9 and we pray.
Oh.
And we study. He wanted to study scriptures together. Like,
that's dreamy.
This is dreamy. It is dreamy.
Really dreamy. Oh my gosh, I'm loving it. I am so happy for you. Okay, I see dirty dishes in my.
Oh no!
I know. I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. Look at how obsessive I am right now. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. What the heck?
I've got another lamp that looks like that. Should I put it on this side or should I just leave it?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that is gonna. There we go. Okay. This is hilarious. Okay, so I love these stories. Oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful story. Okay, I can start wherever, but I'm just gonna remind people. Seriously, we can like cut it. Are you comfortable with talking about stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And you could use the one I just said, or
okay, perfect. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm just gonna introduce Guided, and then kind of go into what we did a little bit last time, and then we'll kind of recap like we did before, and then we'll just talk like we are now, know, because I think I love just the raw, I think just the things that we bring up are going to be timely and informative for people, but also resonate with people too. So, okay. Let's see here. Hold on one second. Okay. All right. So here we go. All right.
Okay.
So welcome to Guided. I'm here to help you navigate your divine journey. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and comment. I'd love to hear what you think about this amazing interview that I'm about to unfold, actually. And comment about what you like and what you want to see in the future. So I'm excited to introduce you to Jennifer Stirling. And she is the older sister of Lindsey Stirling, who is a world-renowned violinist, and she shared the stage with many famous artists. And so Jennifer, I want to present you to the world and to my audience. So take it away. Tell me a little bit about you and about what it was like to be Lindsey's first, I guess you would say, manager.
Yeah, we had no manager. Nobody wanted her. So I really became her manager by default. My job was really to just send out autographed posters. That's all we were really doing back then. And I was doing some of the, sheet music and helping her just kind of navigate the website thing. But we found that when she had a manager, people were more willing to offer her more money for gigs. And that's really all I was there for. It was just for the title to be like, oh, there's authority here. This is professional, even though neither of us had any idea what we were doing. I think I actually literally got a book online about how to manage musicians because we didn't know anything, attempting to, do license the music and do all those things. It was completely new territory for us. But
so what was that experience like for you?
It was new. It was fun. It was challenging because, it was like none of us knew really any of the ins and outs of the business at all. So, but I'm very motivated to find answers to questions and problems. So that's kind of where I shine, I guess. And just kind of, I did so many things wrong. It's only because of God that there were things that I could have messed up really bad that didn't end up going poorly because I believe, intervention, but we were both just doing the best we could to look out for her and her business.
What did you learn by doing that?
Learned a lot about myself. And I think my tendency was to just like dive in and get things done, where it was maybe some of the mistakes that were made could have been prevented by thinking things through. We had, what's it called? When you copyright is a copyright office. You send the music into the copyright office.
Right.
Well, I did this and I put her producer on there too because I thought that's how it worked. And they had changed things so that I had to redo it, and they sent it back to me. Had it gone through, her producer would have taken her for a lot of money. Because,
oh my goodness.
I mean, which he shouldn't have been doing, but he was trying to. And that mistake could have cost her a lot. And just things like that, just because I didn't know and I didn't ask. I just thought, he helped write the song, I'll put him on here. And but
I can't even imagine what a big endeavor. I mean, like you said, there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So tell me about any sibling rivalry. What was that like?
Oh yeah. We did not like each other growing up. We became very close. Like the older we got and the more life we experienced, the closer we became. And I think is because we know each other so well. We know our inadequacies, our struggles, the things that make us tick, the things that irritate us or that hurt us, like the things we used against each other. We see, as we grew up, we see people doing these things that would hurt our sibling and go, how dare you? We're just viciously protective of each other. But we're also very good at calling each other out. Like when we're not in a good place or we do something that's not appropriate, we have no problem, telling each other how we feel. And so I think it's become a very loving, honest relationship that we have. But it's only come through time and because when we were young, we butt heads terribly. I was the angry sibling who was always punching Lindsey in the nose and pulling her hair. And Lindsey was the one pushing my buttons and always getting me into trouble. So
what would you say her superpowers are or were?
She's like a nymph. I mean, she's just got this little, she's very happy, spunky and creative and creating things. I mean, the GoPed that, we all know as a GoPed, she drew that as a little child and said, Mommy, look at this. It's a scooter with a motor on it. And she said, oh, that's nice, dear. And then we saw it on the side of the road one day going down the street. And my mom's like, oh, you invented that. Someone got it to the patent office before she did. She was 5. But she's very visual and good at getting what's in her head into a way that people can understand. and then she can get this team to create that as a reality.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic.
So she's a creator,
Yeah. And what was it like growing up? So you have how many siblings altogether?
I grew up with Lindsey and Brooke, and I was
Okay.
the oldest. Lindsey was the middle child. Brooke was the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And we all kind of had our own thing. None of us did the same stuff. I played trumpet. Lindsey did violin. Brooke did cello. Brooke did horse training. Lindsey liked to dance. I liked running. So none of us really did the same stuff. We all had kind of our own little niche. And our parents, I think, really wanted that for us so that we weren't having so much sibling rivalry, that we could have something that was just ours.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helped a lot in the teenage years, just having something to grab onto and say, this is mine.
Yeah. Yeah. And so your parents, you said, were really supportive.
Extremely supportive. My mom struggled just as a child. She felt like her parents were not aware of her and her desires and needs. And she always wanted to be a dancer. Mm-hmm. And she loved music, and they just didn't give her the tools or anything that she could really use to bank on her talents that she wanted to develop. And so she felt kind of neglected in that area. So as soon as we expressed any kind of interest in working towards a talent or a goal, she was on it. And I mean, it took a while. I mean, she wanted to make sure we were actually interested in something, but Lindsey was begging for lessons for like a year before I think she was like, okay, this is it. We're doing this. And then it was full blown, we're doing this, like all the way. I'll make any sacrifice. Didn't have a lot of money, but they did without a lot of things so that we could have our lessons, and so that we could go to camps, and so that they could help us with our goals and dreams. It wasn't, we'll give our kids whatever we want, but we will give our kids whatever they need to work. If they're willing to put in the work, we will help them.
So that's amazing. Did music come easy for you guys, or did you feel like you had to work at it?
I started with piano, and reading music was initially a challenge for me, I remember, but because I had that foundation, as soon as I picked up trumpet, I decided I didn't want to do piano anymore. Started in the band, and it was probably the only thing in my life that did come pretty easy to me, was that instrument. And I worked at it. I practiced every day, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't a huge challenge for me. And I think similar with Lindsey, like music's ingrained in us. Our grandparents were both very musical. Our mom would sing to us before we went to bed. My dad was very much into classical music, took us to concerts. So I think, and I've noticed actually a difference between my two boys. My first, I had while I was going to college or university, and I was doing orchestra music and playing and practicing all the time. He was born, he has an incredible ear. He's a very good singer. My second, I really wasn't doing a lot of music. I was, full-blown mom at that point. And I heard him sing for the first time and was like, how are you, my child? He could not carry a tune. And I was like, wow. Like, just the fact that he was in my tummy, hearing all of that. And, I was doing all this musical stuff. I really think it made a difference between my two children. And my second, sports is his thing, and that's cool. But my oldest, he's very, very musical. And I think that just hearing the beats and the tones or whatever that I was producing those 9 months in the womb and then after made a big difference.
Oh, it does. Isn't that amazing when your children surprise you? It's the same with my daughter, and I sang to her in the womb, and then I sang to her, before she went to bed, and she has an amazing voice. It's incredible. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So you had an impact on Lindsey's career from, when she was, this budding artist. I mean, of course, you guys grew up and she had dance, and then she had music and everything like that. So it was kind of, side by side, of course. But then when she was launched into the limelight after, what was the contest again that she kind of launched her into the global limelight?
America's Got
Talent. Yeah. So then from there, your impact in helping catapult her further, what was that like to then see her have like that professional manager and then really get enmeshed into kind of like the world,
Well, America's Got Talent really didn't help her that much. The only thing it did was introduce her to Devin Graham. And so it was essential for her to meet him, but he's the one who made all the difference, because he mentored her, he helped her with her YouTube channel, taught her everything he knew, he was her, he did the glide cam and made videos for her. The first one they uploaded to his channel.
Okay.
And then everybody liked it, so he started to help her. But the crystallized video that went crazy, that was his filming. He helped her, and he also introduced her to the producer who created that as well. So I was just kind of a bystander supporting, really. I mean, there were so many people who came just along the way that were timely and necessary and helpful. And she had a costume designer, a friend we grew up with. She couldn't afford costumes for her videos. She was too poor. So this friend of ours, she lives in Provo now, but we were in the same gourd growing up, and she would create the costumes and design them for Lindsey and do all the labor for free.
Wow.
And in exchange, Lindsey purchased the materials and then gave the costumes back once she was done with them so she could sell them. And just
fantastic.
things like this, so people and Lindsey's fans made a big impact too. A lot of them were doing all these Facebook fan groups and promoting her for free. And we couldn't afford promotion, but they were doing it because they wanted to. And so I kind of tapped into that, contacted all these people on Facebook and asked them, hey, do you want to be official? Do you want to be like the official Lindsey Stirling fan page of your country? And they're like, yeah, of course we do it. And I'm like, you won't have access to Lindsey. I can't give you any free tickets, no free merch, nothing like that. Really, you just have access to me. And we can promote Lindsey, by working together. And all of them agreed, about 50 pages, about 250 people. And so it around that time where she was just starting to get her momentum, I really think it was those fans who continued that momentum and propelled her in the next stages so that she could continue to be successful and not just be a one-hit wonder or something.
Right. What a journey to see her growth and everything. Do you feel like I'm sure it's changed her, but in what ways have you seen the changes?
Maturity and empathy. I mean, I feel like Lindsey has somehow managed to be very grounded despite just all the fame and things that, you see all the time where it gets to their head or they change, and not in necessarily a very good way. And something that's always been important to her was that she was always very frugal growing up, because we didn't have a lot of money. And she's made the comment to me that she's lost so much normalcy through her career that there not a lot in her life is normal, but she can control what she spends. Like, she has money, but she puts most of it back into her craft, like into her tours and her music. And she uses her money as if she was still, generally being careful with it. Her car is a very modest car. Mm-hmm. It's a very baseline Kia. She doesn't spend a lot of money, and she does that because she wants to stay grounded and be just real and connected to the things that are actually important.
Right.
And
that is so rare, like you said, for people to stay. What do you think helps her stay grounded? Does she say?
I think her desire to connect with her family and her friends, the friends that were always there from the beginning before she became famous. Mm-hmm. So she continues to reach out, and she just is very self-aware. Mm-hmm. And she loves to give back. So she spends actually quite a bit of time doing things for her crew, surprising them. She makes time for fun. She makes time for meditation. She makes time for prayer, and just staying grounded and realizing that there's someone else out there. There's a greater power than her that made all of this possible, and that she's nothing without it.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is really beautiful. So I want to hear about you. Lindsey's journey is so beautiful, and I love her music. It's moving. It resonates with me. It's exciting. It's inspirational. And I think it's so neat.
I like it too. It's great music.
I love it. I want to shift to your journey though, too. I mean, you grew up in the same family. Like you said, you play trumpet, and you also play in a symphony.
I do.
And you have helped with the universities as well. And so tell me about your journey from that, and then also the fact that you've struggled and then you've come through so many breakthroughs, and what factors helped with that?
Mm-hmm. So when I was young, all of my self-worth came from achieving things. Like from the time I was a little kid, my mom told me that I asked her one day, "What am I the best at, Mom?" And she was like, "Honey, you don't have to be the best at anything. You just be you." And I was like, "No, what am I the best at? Like, I want to be the best at something." And she just couldn't, like, it was relentless. I'm like, I can't not be the best at something. And so I struggled a lot with depression from the time I was a little kid. And my value came from being good at things, getting good grades, being the top, the first chair trumpet player, or winning races when I did cross country, being the best. And when I wasn't the best, I took it very hard. Mm-hmm. And it would affect me tremendously, where I felt worthless. If I didn't have, like, when my boyfriend would dump me, I was just like, all my value came from him liking me, where none of that means anything. You could lose it all in an instant.
Right.
I become a quadriplegic. What do I have left? Mm-hmm. And so I literally woke up every day of even my childhood and my adolescent and college life with the attitude of, okay, new day. I'm going to do this. It's going to be better. And I fought. But it felt like a losing battle, because every day I would start out like, okay, then something would go wrong. And it was like, my day is ruined. And it would just get worse and worse and worse. And end of the day, just try again. But it was very discouraging, because I just felt like no matter what I did, no matter how many times, how much I tried, how much I accomplished, how many times what I did for myself to try to get that confidence, it just wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And it really took, I managed it or coped by staying extremely busy, so that I couldn't even think about it. And I avoided,
like distracting it.
Yeah. I avoided my family, because I just felt like when I'm home, I'm just a grouch and nobody likes being around me. I'll just avoid them altogether, so I don't ruin anybody's day. So I spent a lot of time working and practicing and doing sports, and just stayed insanely busy. Mm-hmm. And, got through college, got married, and found that I wasn't making my spouse real happy either. Really struggled. I wanted to, but I was still a very broken person. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't till I was about 25 that I started finding solutions for the depression. And at that point, I was starting to think that, well, because in our faith, we believe that this is the plan of happiness, right? And I was always doing everything right. I mean, I was really trying, and doing all those things that should be keeping your vibrations up, right? I mean, I'm trying, but I was just like this dark cloud. And my mom actually told me that she'd gone to the doctor, because she took Prozac as well as I did since I was 15. Mm-hmm. And it helped, but it just kind of, it's numb, right? I mean, there's no highs, no lows. It's just, okay. and it just made it really hard to feel or connect. And so she told me that she'd gone to her doctor, and she'd asked him, what are the long-term side effects of this drug? Because they really hadn't done a lot of research on Prozac. And he told her that, well, they're finding that people who take these long-term, they get very lackadaisical, kind of lazy. They don't want to do anything. They lose their motivation, and they just kind of become like a couch potato. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to let that happen to me. I can't. No, I will not do this. And it was at that point I was like, I've tried everything. Yeah, I don't know what else to do, but I will not let this happen. And I literally threw my hands up at God and was like, fix it. Mm-hmm. I'm done. Like, I can't do it. And you made me, you know how to fix me. So do it, fix me. And I went on about my life, but it was kind of this catalyst moment where I was like, I give up. I'm done trying.
I think so many of us have had those moments, like, help.
Yeah. And it was at that moment that things started changing. I found that I was like accidentally in the right place at the right time, or heard about this person or this technique, and things I'd never heard of before. And I started to heal. And I never thought that, like, I was at the point where I'd given up. Like, I thought, it's never going to work. I'll just be this way for the rest of my life, I guess. I guess this is who I am. I didn't want to believe that was who I was, but I think deep down I knew that's not me.
Right.
Like there's more to me than this.
Oh yeah.
And when I stopped resisting and fighting so hard was when it started opening up for me.
Total key right there.
But it took time.
To stop the resistance and surrender.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that big word. And it has to be 100%. I mean, I've really learned that. It has to be 100% believe that it can be done, 100% be willing to receive the healing, and 100% surrender.
And isn't it interesting that it's always, well, no, I shouldn't say always. It seems so often that it's when we are at our wit's end and it feels like we've tried everything and it feels like every door is closed, even though that may not be the case. It seems that way at that moment.
Yes.
And it's just like we want to give up. And so that's when it seems our heart is softened and humbled enough to surrender to a higher power. And we actually let that higher power in and take the reins. And we then lose control of our will, and we let God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, in. And it's
it can be a hurricane. I mean, there's some times where I'm just like, ah! He's like, no, you said go. We're going with this.
Exactly. And then things seem to unfold in a way that they haven't before. And it seems to get easier. And after that, not saying we don't have trials, but things definitely get easier.
Yeah. And where you get better at handling the trials. It's just the same things could happen. And you're like, oh, I got this. And you have the tools and the healthy mindset to be able to, and the self-awareness, I think too, and understanding. I think a big thing for me was the slow and steady realization that, wow, not everyone's like me. And then realizing that the differences that people had were because I was different and that was okay, but that I had to be understanding and empathetic to the fact that people don't have a brain like mine. People don't think like I do. People don't, they have their own ways of thinking, and they think it's just as important as I do.
Right.
And to be sympathetic to that allows less resistance as well to relationships and just ease of life, so that you're not constantly butting into people because you're like, well, why don't you think like I do? This is silly. Like, this is so irrational. What's wrong with you?
We have so much in common. I feel like I had this checklist in my head, and a lot of it was based on what I accomplished, from college to, graduate school, to sports, to singing, to whatever it was, all the victories, going on a mission, doing the right thing, temple marriage, all of that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then thinking like, if I do all of these things, then I'm going to be happy. I'm going to prosper. I'm going to, have everything I need. Life will be easier. Not saying that, that way of life isn't going to bring blessings. However, if we have a mindset that it's a checklist and it's this prescriptive way of living, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no, it's more of a journey.
Exactly.
It's not a checklist.
Exactly. So once you figured out, like, I don't want to be this way, I'm not going to be on Prozac the rest of my life. What was your next discovery?
Well, ironically, I'd taken fish oil before and tried it, and that doesn't work, nothing. I'd run, exercise, all that stuff, and positive affirmations. The positive affirmations did work, but as soon as I stopped doing them, I would immediately revert back. So it wasn't a lasting thing. I was at the first step for me. I was at a wedding I didn't want to be at. And I never watch TV. Like, I just don't. But the TV was on. We were waiting for this event to start. And there was a program on where the guy was talking about omega-3s and how great they are for you. And kind of a side note, he talks about Greenland and how dark it is. Like, they don't get a lot of sunlight there. And he says, I think it's really interesting. They have the least incidence of depression in the world. because you'd think that a dark place like that, you know, without all the vitamin D would affect them, right? But they don't. They're very happy as a general population. And he says, I think it's because they eat so much fish.
Oh.
And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, well, that's not going to work for me, but it sounds healthy. I'll try it. So I started eating fish 3 days a week and doing more nuts and seeds and omega-3 type things. And 3 months later, I forgot to go get my pills, my Prozac. And by day 3, I should have been a monster, like just out of control, really struggling. I had not taken it for 5 days. And I realized, oh my gosh, I got to go get my drugs. And then I realized I'm okay. I was just like, oh my gosh, it's working. Wow. Like, and so I never went back. I never got the drugs again, never went back to the doctor to fill a prescription. And I just kept taking, you know, I would eat fish 3 days a week. And I later read an article that said that fish does help your mood, but it takes about 3 months to get into your system and have that effect. So I just happened to forget to go get my drug, you know, before I lost the momentum of eating fish 3 days a week to discover at the right time that this was working.
That is incredible. Oh my goodness. So, and have you been able to maintain the great effects of eating fish and not?
Well, yeah, I found that if I stopped doing it and I would start to get grouchy again. And it worked for my mom as well.
Wow.
And so she stopped taking Prozac. But after a time I started, you know, I'm like, okay, like I'm feeling better. I want to work I want to get better. I want to get even more better, like get rid of these other problems that I'm struggling with and these demons in my mind or whatever it is. And so I started like, okay, I'm ready for the next step. And then I found the life coach that I've had for like 10 years now.
Oh, that's great.
She did a lot of energy work and helped me through a lot of things.
Tell me about that, the energy work. What is it, Reiki or what kind of energy?
She did Lifeline.
Okay.
And that's by, who is it? Darren Wiseman.
Okay.
So it's kind of a very mild hypnosis, but it involves muscle testing and just leading through different things it's to someone who's never done it, it might seem a little strange because you're asking me to walk or move my eyes in a pattern but it's basically she'll ask if there's a core limiting belief, like what is it? What is it that you don't like? And then you tell her what you don't like, and then what do you want instead? And that emotion, like, I want this and I want to feel this way. And then going through the process of going back, when did this start? Is it an ancestor? Was it in the womb? Was it like 0 to 10? And then finding out when the incident occurred, like enveloping that time period, just kind of experiencing it again. You don't have to even remember what happened.
Right.
And you can just kind of feel into what you're feeling at that moment and then leave it, be like, okay, I forgive that, experience that, my old self. I love my old self, but we're gonna leave that behind now. And then step into the new self, which is this alternative feeling of light and all of those things. And then the affirmations after. So it was a very complete, I felt the effectiveness of it, and different sessions. Obviously I felt better or worse afterwards. And for me, it would sometimes take several days. I would have a session and then I would be kind of resistant. And then on day 3 or a week later, I'd feel really good. Like it was like I was detoxing.
Yeah. And integrating it, processing it.
Yeah. The process and all of that, which I didn't know how that worked at the time. I just knew that I was making progress.
Right.
And starting to feel lighter and better. And there was a particular time I did it where I felt so good and I was happy. And I was like, I went to the Walmart and I was going through and I was just happy. And all these people, like just people I didn't know, were stopping and talking to me, and they were like, and they were making jokes and I was laughing with them. And I was like, man, if I felt like this, I would have been the most popular girl in high school. Like, I wish I could have had this in high school. And then something happened like a week or 2 later that kind of knocked me off. And I went back to feeling kind of low again, went back. And I was like, Callie, I want to feel that way all the time. And she goes, hun, if you felt that way all the time, your adrenals would burn out. You can't feel that way all the time. It's, you know, a little of this, a little of that. You just don't want to go really low or, you know, crazy high, like you might get on like a drug or something. It's like here with some lows and highs and some, you know, that's what makes
Plateaus.
life. Yeah, that's what makes life interesting and beautiful is
Yes.
the different periods. It's a cycle. And
Yeah. You know, I've heard about that kind of modality similar to Lifeline. It's almost like we have this matrix that we are faced with those limiting beliefs based on whether it's nurture, nature, whatever. And then we work through those. I've had a similar coach, it's a spiritual coach, and she did something like that. And she went to either a past life or in the womb or something that you faced when you were younger, family of origin. And then she almost did some inner child work, and then she did some clearing and things like that. So it was really interesting. A little different though, where as far as the integration is with going back, we would do like the inner child work where you would then say it was something happened at age 5 or something.
Yeah.
You would go and love that age and love that child. And, you know, whatever age you are now, you would say, you know, like, I'm here for you. I'm here to protect you. I'm here whenever you want.
Yeah. And that was part of
like
that.
A meditation.
Yeah.
It's
just
really
accepting
fascinating.
it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's the aspects of yourself that you heal are amazing. And things that maybe you didn't realize before. Profound. Did you find that?
I discovered it through my ex-husband's grandma. She was, you know, going to her for herbs or something. And then my son was really sick. Like he had all these allergies. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to take him. Couldn't afford it, but I'm like, I'm going to do this. And then meeting her, I was like, okay, like I needed her to help me too.
Yeah.
And so that relationship developed. But I think a lot of the really deep cleansing is still happening, but happened through my marriages and just the dissolving of them, because I've been married twice. And I was a very broken person when I married the first time.
So it's interesting that you say that the relationships were the deep cleansing and clearing as well. So I want to point out that there's the work that we do ourselves, the inner work, and then it's like we get to a point and we need that partnership to almost like do the remainder of it. Yeah.
I think that people are in our life for a reason. Everybody.
I agree.
Even the little people, you know, the people who go check out at Walmart and there's the cashier. Like she has a purpose in our life. What I don't know what it is, but there's a reason she's there.
Yeah. So tell me about these relationships and how you feel they really elevated your progress and evolution.
Well, my first marriage was extremely difficult. Just a lot of financial struggle. I couldn't trust him. He was a very good person. He just really struggled with a lot of inner demons, and he had a lot of anxiety, and it just infiltrated into every aspect of his life, so that he really couldn't take care of himself, let alone a family. And he had good intentions. He just had a hard time following through with them. And as I made the choice to become healthier and work towards, you know, healing myself, he continually got worse. But it was almost like he pushed me in a way that forced me to fight back. And I had no other choice but to fight back. And the last year of our marriage was the most difficult, because it was an internal battle for me. Like, what do I do? I'm miserable. There was a catalyst moment where I realized he was never going to change, and I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life, because I didn't feel like I could leave him. He'd never cheated. He was a good man. And I lost all hope in that moment. And that's when everything changed. It was almost like I was attacked by forces unseen in a way I'd never experienced before. And I realized very quickly that if I didn't do something, if I didn't you know, I really was at a loss. It was the second title. The first time was I give up. I can't heal this depression thing. This was the first time that I realized that I'm going to destroy my life and everyone around me if I don't get help. And I was really scared because I wanted out bad. And that desire of wanting out brought, of course, all kinds of temptations that I never foresaw, never thought possible. I'm like, not me. That could never happen to me. And then I found myself wanting things that were not something I should be wanting. And that struggle, and ultimately and all the people that year who came forward, who like my angels in earth and in heaven, literally, who were like, this girl's worth it. She needs help. And just fighting back and allowing people to help me through that, and just friends. And I started connecting with women for the first time. I started making friends, and because I'd always felt kind of threatened by women, like they didn't accept me, they didn't understand me. So I just kind of didn't have a lot of friends. Yeah. And that was part of a lot of my growth, was making connections again, and fighting against all of the temptations that I was facing, and getting to the point where I finally went to the temple and I was like, God, I want out. Like, I want to leave this relationship. Will you give me permission to do it? And his answer was no. And I was devastated. And I was just like, what gives? I don't know what to do. And I knew, because this life coach that I talked to, I had been in a really dark place that whole year, and she was helping me through. And I had other people helping me as well. And she told me, look, Jennifer, you can't leave your marriage now. We have to get you to a good place, or you'll find this exact same thing.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And she said, you have to understand and believe and grasp onto the idea, because it's true, that you will be happy in your marriage or out of it. You have to decide right now, you are going to be happy. Okay. And I was like, okay, I can hold on to that. And that's literally what got me through that year, was I'm going to be happy in or out of my marriage. It's going to be okay. And if it's not, but I just have to trust in that. But as I was asking this question and the answer was no, I was just like, well, why? And I heard the words, darling, you will have what you want, but first you need to learn. And I was just like, what more do I need to learn? What is it? And I realized that I had to learn to love my husband. Yeah. And when I had that realization, I was, again, just devastated, because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I had built up so much resentment and so much anger and frustration at my situation and the things he put me through. And, you know, again, not a bad man, just really hard marriage. And I felt so stuck. And I was just like, okay, help me do it, because I don't know how I'm going to do it. Yeah. And over the next few weeks, over the next month, I started writing down positive things about him. And I would express concern, like, how are you doing? Or just try to serve him in different ways. I would see a picture of him and just pray to the Lord, help me to see him the way you see him. And I remember a moment where I was looking at a picture of him smiling with my kids. I'm like crying right now.
Believe me, I was warning Jennifer today that I am emotionally just so raw right now. And so I said, we are just going to be together raw right now. So this is beautiful, Jennifer. Thank you for sharing all of this.
But I realized that I did. That, like, this is a beautiful person who's hurting a lot. And I've caused him a lot of pain. And I wished I could take it away. Like, I wanted better for him. And that's part of the reason that I realized I had to leave, was that because I could not make him happy. I could not love him the way he wanted to be loved. And we both deserved better. Mm-hmm. But I knew if I didn't leave, that he would never find who he was meant to be with. And I would never find who I was meant to be with. And we would just continue to pull each other down.
And I think there's a good point there. Not that it's your job to make another person happy, but the key point I'm seeing also is that you knew that the person that he was meant to be with, like you said, or that he needed in his next phase of progress and evolution was not you, and you needed somebody else in your next phase of progress and evolution. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you both had finished that spiritual contract at that point, and it was time to move on.
Right.
And you had learned that lesson that, you know, God wanted you to learn at that point, and that was to love him, you know, to see him as God saw him. And so that's beautiful. Oh my goodness. These lessons that we learn, you know, I know there's a lot of people in my audience even who have the mindset of, you know, God doesn't really mind, or the universe doesn't mind what you want necessarily. You can go one way or the other in life, as long as you follow your bliss. And I believe that as well. However, I do believe that there comes a time when God might tell us no. And it could either be to protect us from something or to help us learn something to get us to the next phase in our progress and evolution.
Right.
Like he did for you. I was just told no this week, and it was really, really tough for me. I wanted with all my heart to, and I'm trying to, let me try to get through this. I wanted to move back home so bad and finish with a chapter I believe was finished. And I was told, wait just a little bit longer. And I just thought, I can't. I don't think I can. But that higher power comes through and buoys us up the way that we need. And then it was not even 48 hours later, I found out that, and I'm going to share something personal, but I found out that I have 2 tumors on my pituitary gland. And had I just left everything, I wouldn't have the health insurance necessary to continue the testing that I need to do. Mm-hmm. So I need to stay here for just a little while longer, just to kind of close some loose ends here. And I know everything's going to be okay and everything's going to be fine. It's just that there's, for whatever reason, you know, that's what I needed to listen to. And God has a plan for everybody. And when we're in our highest alignment with that plan, we can hear which way we're supposed to go at any given time. So yeah. I understand.
I also think that there's several paths in front of us at one time.
Oh yeah.
And that there's usually one that's the brightest. And trying to decipher which one is the brightest can be tricky, because it's not, sometimes it's the easiest, but a lot of times it's the one that doesn't look so obvious, or the one that seems like a really bad idea. But that's the one, you know, the Lord wants you to take for your own good, because this is the one that will help you to fulfill your purpose and mm-hmm. discover who you are and you know, unveil all those layers or whatever it is. And he will not punish you if you want to take another path.
Right.
And if he's like, you know what, if that's what you choose, I'll help you. But there's always a brightest path, and there's usually a really bad one that you really want to stay away from, that will really take you off the road for a while. And there's always a way back, but you know, you probably want to avoid that one. But there's also very good ones that they're fine, but they're not the brightest. And so just having that intuition and being close and aligned with that it can make life not easier necessarily, but much more fulfilling and rewarding in the long term, and teach Absolutely. Us all the things that we need to know. And of course, I think that joy that comes with the experience of having, you know, made mistakes, but forgiven yourself for it and triumphed over whatever it was, and just doing your best and accepting that it's okay. Like, I took the really hard road and I, you know, biffed it a little bit, but that was a lot more brave than taking this like safe one. And
I think we talked about, by the way, this is Jennifer on my second round, because last time, for whatever reason, this didn't record. So I think wasn't it last time that we talked about how we felt like you know, before we incarnated into this world, that we felt like we, you know, sat down with our heavenly council.
Oh yeah.
And we were like, okay, here's the blueprint. You know, we want to learn this, 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 and this, and we want to evolve in this way, and we want to really reach our divinity, you know, by doing this. And so I think, like you were talking about, that brightest path and aligning ourselves with God in a certain way will get us to fulfilling that blueprint that we had before we even came.
Yeah, and I think there's this misconception. Teal Swan talked about this, about the law of attraction, thinking that if you like have your alignment way up here, that life's going to just give you everything that you in your track. And if you attract something bad, you've done something wrong. Like you've attracted something, and it's you've made a mistake, or it's your fault. And she proposed the idea, and I completely agree with her, that this, you know, blueprint that we're like, I want these things. I want to learn to be loving. I want to be kind. I want to learn gratitude. I want to learn to be patient. And how do you learn to be patient? Well, you go through really hard things that cause you to be impatient until you learn how to be patient. And you have all this anger and frustration. So like when people attract things into their life that are hard, it doesn't necessarily mean that you stink at the law of attraction. It just might mean that your spirit, who wants to learn these really awesome things, is attracting people, situations, and circumstances into your life that will help you to learn those things.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it better. I also listened to that Teal Swan video, and I totally agreed with her. And, you know, I thought of somebody who thinks of the law of attraction in the way that Teal Swan does not. And I thought to myself, if somebody was looking at my life right now, they'd be like, well, how is she attracting all of this to her? How is she attracting all of this drama and all these circumstances? And like you said, no, my soul, my higher self, the highest iteration of myself, my deity is, you know, my divinity is attracting all the things that is going to make me, you know, in alignment with God and my godhood. And so, yes, that's exactly what I think too. So, you know, there's another video she talks about, and there's several other people who talk about this too, but spiritual bypassing seems to be a big thing in this positive thinking law of attraction circle, where people are not delving into clearing things that could ultimately help them. They just always want to be in this Disneyland world where it's positive thinking, or, you know, just stay on this high frequency, which sure, we all want to do that. However, if you don't do your shadow work and you don't go deep and dive deep into, you know, why are these things still here, it will keep resurfacing. The phrase that I love to use is, wherever you go, there you are. So no matter what situation you go in, wherever you move, whatever state you go to, whatever country you go to, whatever relationship is next for you, if you do not clear certain things within your life, they will chase you, and you will not be able to run from them, no matter what situation you change.
Oh, I attract the same person in a different body. Like I've experienced that a lot. I'm like, I just attract the same guy again.
I know.
I thought he was different.
Exactly. I know. In fact, I posed the question to one of my friends, and I said, why am I attracting the same archetype? What is not healed within me? Why am I attracting this type of person? A couple things that I figured out is, I am not trusting my intuition when I feel certain things are not in alignment, or
disregarding. Oh, they seem nice. You feel that initial, and then you're like, well, I'm being really hard on them. Or,
right.
You know, they're really cute. I like their personality. I'll just pretend like I didn't feel that.
Exactly. Or, they didn't tell me the truth about this. Well, okay, I'll give them a pass this time.
Oh yeah, like rationalize for them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, they were having a bad day, or they were just trying to protect me, or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. We have just gone the rounds for other people, giving them passes and all sorts of things. But where does it leave us in the long run? Oh my goodness. Not in a good place.
Well, I've heard it said that, or it was actually by my life coach. She we connected. And she's like, how are you doing? And I'm like, well, I just had another breakup. And she goes, don't think of it as a breakup. Think of it as a breakthrough.
I love that.
You know,
I
next
love
step, learn from it. And
move on. I know. And, you know, we were talking about my recent breakup because, you know, this year I've had 2 really difficult breakups and, oh my goodness, such heartache comes with that.
It's just hard. There's no way around it.
There is no way around it. And, you know, the only way through the pain is through it, not around it, not distracting yourself through it. Otherwise, like I said before, you are going to be chased by something that you don't resolve, that you don't go through, you know, it will catch up with you. So it's been a tough one. It's been a tough 2019. Yeah. So, but, you know, you said you learned so much from your first marriage and you learned to love him, see him as God saw him. So once that happened, were you able to move to your next step? What happened after that?
Well, I did a lot of growing after that, and I felt, and I had to take care of myself. So I did. I tried to become a city firefighter. My ex was very supportive.
Nice.
And he paid for all my, you know, training and everything, my books, my gear, and then I broke my arm.
Oh.
Yeah, right before my final interview. I was like really close, like as close as I've ever been to getting like a potential job with Phoenix. And I was looking at it, I was like looking at the situation as I broke my arm. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a reroute. What is it?
Oh, yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
Because there was something in me that always told me that this isn't about you getting a firefighting job. This is about a journey that will take you somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I ended up, long story short, it's kind of a cool story, but for sake of time, I became a wildland firefighter and spent a summer fighting fires. And I can't remember what question I was answering.
You've done so much. Oh my gosh. So just the next step. So your ex-husband then was able to help you through the next phase, which was firefighting.
Yeah. And I suppose I mean, that was part of me supporting myself. And then I got home and I started doing more for Lindsey. So she helped, you know, as far as she gave me a salary. And then I didn't go back and do wildland due to my kids and their situation. So I worked from home, and then I remarried again. He left after 6 months, and he was like pretty much gone.
Oh, wow.
And his parting words, which is really difficult because I was certainly not a perfect wife, but I felt like I was a very good wife. And I really tried to make him happy and do the right things. And so when he came, because he was a firefighter too, so he was fighting fires and came home after the fire season and told me that I was the kindest, most loving person he'd ever met, but that he wasn't in love with me anymore. And he packed up his things and he left, and I never saw him again. And I was sitting there going, my best wasn't good enough.
Oh.
Like it didn't matter like it was, I was a good wife or a bad wife, my husband leaves or just checks out. And it was devastating because I was like, I would have done anything for him. And he didn't want it. And I really had to accept the fact that, you know, he was, and I think part of it was he realized he wasn't in a good place, and he didn't think I should have to suffer for it. Like he really did value me as he liked me. He thought I was a good person, but you know, that kind of rejection is rough. So I spent a lot, you know, the next 3 months really trying to be okay, just because I was really hurt. I joined a soccer team, you know, an adult soccer league. So I had something to look forward to. And that whole year my second husband had remarried, and he took me back to court to try to get more custody of our children. So that whole time I was fighting for them. And the same day he left, I got the verdict from court, which was that now it was 50-50. And so I lost my husband and my kids in the same day. So I was just like, wow. And it was kind of almost funny. My son, it was also the day of Hurricane Katrina. And when I told my kids what was going on and that, you know, he's leaving and it's not your fault. oh, and now you're going to be spending half the time with your dad. And my oldest was like, wow, today's a really bad day. And we all started just laughing. It was like, this is ridiculous. How could it get any worse?
Oh my goodness. You and I have been through so many similar things. It's unreal. Wow.
Yeah. But I would wake up in the middle of the night, couldn't sleep. I'd go on a run. I'd go on a run, you know, just keep fighting, you know, I'm okay. I'm worth it. You know, just keep. And I did actually, right before he came home and told me this, I was praying and I asked the Lord, like, I'm really kind of struggling here. I hadn't heard from him in a long time. He just pretty much cut me out. And just with the courts and all of that stuff. And I said, please tell me what I need to know. Is there anything else I need to know? And I heard the words, you're worth it. And I had at the time, I didn't know my husband was going to be leaving me.
Yeah.
But I held on to that.
Yes.
And I just would keep telling myself, I'm worth it. God says I'm worth it. So it must be true. Yeah. and I fought back and just really tried to focus on other, you know, my friends and do things, even though I didn't feel like it. I'd go out to lunch. I'd, you know, stay busy with hobbies or my work or my kids, just put a lot of energy into them until I stopped being so angry. Because I was pretty angry about it and upset.
Of course. And, you know, it's going through that full spectrum of emotion.
I mean, I feel like he died, you know, it was like that whole process.
Because it's so hard to understand. That would be hard to understand for me, at least, because it's really, I think as women, we feel like we want to be able to resolve something or do something to resolve something.
Right. Like, how can I fix it? And there's nothing you can do to fix it.
And there's nothing,
sorry.
No, it's just the other person, you know, it's inside them for whatever reason, or it's just their choice. And there's nothing you can do to prevent it. And that's so hard when you can't resolve something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, so what's given you the faith to even want to, you know, date? And because, you know, there's other people out there who have been through situations like this, and they're just like, oh, no way in hell am I going to get married or even date. You know, I have a friend right now that I talk to who she's just like, no, I'm so scared. I've had such bad experiences. Of course, she's not looking at them like breakthroughs, like you mentioned. She's just looking at them like breakups and, you know, setbacks.
I suppose, and there's always that fear that what if I do it again and then it's another divorce and then I'm 3 for 0 or 0 for 3, you know, just looking bad or whatever. But I think the bottom line is I really believe that I deserve it all. Absolutely. And I want it all. And I'm not going to give up until I have it all. Like I'm going to keep trying.
Good for you. You do.
I mean, we all do.
Yes.
And so I think that too many people sell themselves short or they settle, and I think there were aspects of all of my relationships up to this point where there was a little part that I was settling for. And when I finally realized that this isn't okay, and I moved on. But I've learned so much in dating a lot of different people and realizing, finally come full circle to realize, okay, this really is what I want, the ideal. I mean, and it's okay. Yeah. And when you're in a place where you are healed and you believe you're deserving, I mean, it goes back to that 100% believing that you will receive, that believing that you're, and being willing to receive it. The willingness is part of that, is believing you deserve it. Yes. Like knowing you're divine, and then the surrendering, like it's out of my control. You know who's good for me. And I know we talked about this last time, that God, in the, you know, Genesis, in the Bible, Adam and Eve. And I heard a pastor talk about this. It was, so LA pastor, I'm trying to remember his name.
I think I know who you're talking about too.
Torrey Roberts, I think.
Okay.
His name.
That sounds familiar.
But he gives this really cool sermon about soulmates. And as part of this sermon, he talks about Adam and Eve and how, you know, a lot of people, they're broken, and then they go out looking for a person and they find a broken person. And he's like, you should be saying, don't bring my soulmate now, because you will repel them. They won't even recognize you. you have to be whole. You have to be ready for this amazing person, ready to receive them. And he talked about how in the garden, Adam didn't go out looking for a female. God presented him with a female and said, this is like, here she is, here's your female. Just brought her to him. And that's what he can do for us, or the universe can do for us, if we exemplify our best selves and we're not in this needy state, which I've struggled with, definitely. Like I've been very needy over the years and wanting that affection and that love and touch or whatever, just, and then attracting whatever was around at the time.
Right.
When you just like be still and know that I'm God, because I've gotten that message a lot. Just hang tight, I've got you. And just living your life and trusting that he will bring that perfect soulmate to you, and instead of trying so hard to go find them, and just praying for that to help me to recognize them when they show up.
Yeah, or trying to like transform them into that soulmate. Or feeling like
I've never done that.
Right? Or feeling like, you know, oh my gosh, they have so much potential and they have the desire to do all of these things, but they're not there yet. And they know they're not there yet. And they want to do all this healing, but you know, like there's the imbalance between it's just like, oh.
Well, and that's what I realized. My friend said this, because I'm in a what I think is an amazing relationship right now. And I'm really excited. And when I was telling my friend about this guy, she says, he's different. You're not trying to justify why you're with him. And you're not telling me that he has potential. Like everyone I ever dated, he has potential. You know, he's got all these good qualities. And no, you don't want someone with potential. You want someone who's there.
Right now.
Right now.
Exactly. I know. Oh my goodness. And I love what you said about Adam and Eve, you know, because the message that kept coming to me, very similar to the message you've been getting, is wait on the Lord, you know, because God's going to present, the universe is going to present the person to you. You don't need to go out and seek necessarily. I mean, and we kind of talked about this last time.
You have to be open to it.
Yes.
But
work on yourself, work on anything that needs to be healed, continue to just put the energy on yourself, and be your best self, because you want to attract that healed, happy person that reflects you, healed and happy. But like you said, Adam didn't go seeking, the Lord brought Eve to him. And I think we talked about this last time though, Jennifer, how there's the masculine and feminine energy in each of us. And if it's not healed, we're going to present with the wounded masculine or feminine energy, and then we'll attract that. And that just enmeshes us in relationship that is difficult and rift with challenge, and oh my goodness, really tough. So with the feminine, it's lean back and use your feeling, use a lot of feeling phrases and things like that, because, you know, men like to understand how women feel, you know, feel love, how they feel in their bodies. And when we try to use our Athena warrior energy and we go hunting for the men, it's, you know, it's like kind of like some men say that they like that. They like the women to initiate, but really for sustainability and long-term, research shows that it doesn't last. So men like to be the hunters and use their masculine energy to have that challenge and be the hunters. So I think it's interesting. You have so many beautiful experiences that help others and inspire others. What would you tell people who are a little frightened right now for, you know, dating and staying open?
My friend encouraged me to just go on dates. Like no expectation. You're not looking for your soulmate. You're just going out, meeting people, and you're like almost like resist the urge to jump into any kind of relationship. Just go date. Like, you know, go on to Tinder or, you know, Mutual, whatever, and start talking to people. And but without this idea that you're hunting for someone, you're just making yourself available. And you're going out and you're it's almost like when you go out and see other people, it's alleviating. when there's no expectation.
Right.
And I think you can start to figure out what it is you like and don't like in a relaxed way rather than being scared. I mean, there's no pressure for you to get into a relationship. If you just go out on dates, you don't give them your address, you just meet up somewhere, have lunch, and go home, and you never have to see them again. If you don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, what's there to be afraid of?
Exactly. That's the same.
And if it's
concept.
not right, it's not right. You know, and there's a reason for it, and that's okay.
I love that. Love that. Rory Ray is a life coach and relationship coach. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she has that same concept, but she calls it circular dating. Mm-hmm. So she says, whether you want to get involved with a person or not, she says, just, start with 2 or 3 people that you engage with in conversation, or whether you want to go out to lunch with them or not, dinner, whatever. But it's just good practice to be able to stay in your feminine energy and practice that way of communication and interaction as well.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
And I think it's been helpful to kind of some of the dating coaches online, like who is it? Matthew Hussey, Matthew Boggs, and just getting some ideas of like ways that men work, and as you use some of the techniques that they talk about and you see that they're working, could give you some confidence. You're just like, oh, I have a little bit of power here, and you want to use your power for good, but
of course. Brian Reeves is another one. He was an Air Force captain. And now he's a life and relationship coach. He's so good. And then there's some women, like I said, Rory Ray, Helena Hart, Anya Grace. There's a lot of them who really talk about, stepping out in your empowered feminine and also making sure that your masculine empowered king is there. Not the potential, but he's already there to meet you as the queen that you are. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly. Beautiful.
This has been amazing. I've loved every minute with you, a second time too. The first time was fabulous. The second time has been even better.
Yay!
Thank you so much. You've inspired me, and I know you're going to inspire my audience and followers. And
vice versa. Thank you.
I can't wait to see you in person too at the LDS PMA conference in Provo, Utah. And you're speaking, I'm speaking. And just real quick, so we can get a plug in, tell us a little bit about what you're speaking on.
I was asked to speak on teamwork for what the teamwork that brought Lindsey to where she's at. So they called it Takes a Village. But as I started preparing it, I realized that it takes an army, not a village. So we're going to have to let them know that we've changed the title.
Nice. And it's really fitting what I'm talking about, because I'm talking about, turning points in your life and transitions, changes, and then how that brings you to ultimate transformation. So, and in the fact that we're all guided through all of these changes and transformations.
Oh, so much.
Yes, absolutely. And of course the show being guided, and you've talked so much about how God and the Lord, the universe, has guided you through all of these changes, through these difficult times, these happy times. We are so loved, and we are cared for from heavenly hosts on high, for sure.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. Hugs and kisses to you, and have a great rest of your day. And then
Thank you.
Yes, mwah. And I see that we have been recording this whole time, so I'm really happy about that.
It worked.
Yes, and I'm so glad about your new relationship, and that is very exciting. So I will talk to you soon, and I will send you the link for this recording.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, everybody, and leave a comment. What was the favorite part of this interview, and what really resonated with you with what Jennifer talked about?